Hello everyone, and welcome into another episode of Tales from the Vault, where we will be doing tales from local history, childhood memories, true crime, paranormal, and legends. So sit back and let's enjoy this episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Tales from the Vault. Since it's Halloween month, I thought I would get into something a little bit spooky. And this is a place that I have always wanted to go and investigate for myself. Am I convinced that this stuff is real? I'm not convinced, but I'm open to the possibility. So, with that being said, we are going to be visiting Waverly Hills Sanatorium. So, let's get into this tale. The area known today as Waverly Hill was purchased by Major Thomas H. Hayes in 1883 as the Hayes family home. Since any existing schools were a good distance away, Hayes decided to establish a one-room schoolhouse for his daughters to attend and hired Miss Lizzie Lee Harris as a teacher. Miss Harris had a fondness for author Walter Scott's Waverly novels, and she received Hayes' permission to name the schoolhouse the Waverly School. In turn, he named his property Waverly Hills because he liked the peaceful-sounding name. At the beginning of the 20th century, Louisville, Kentucky had one of the highest rates of tuberculosis demises in the United States. The beginnings of industrialism, as well as geographic makeup, were contributing factors. Nestled in the Ohio Valley, Louisville didn't get a lot of fresh airflow. In an attempt to contain the disease, a Board of Tuberculosis hospital was established in 1906. The search began for a proper location to construct the much-needed facility. Eventually, Hayes' property was chosen for several reasons. Its distance from the city, its picturesque, tranquil view, as well as its high altitude with increased airflow. The board decided to keep the name Waverly as it has a peaceful sound to it. In 1908, ground was broken on what would become Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Over the next 2 years of construction, a 2-story wooden administration building, as well as 2 connected open-air pavilions on either side, each housing 20 males and 20 female patients, were built at a cost of $25,000. The new sanatorium was officially opened July the 26th, 1910. Due to the rapid increase of tuberculosis cases, the original hospital was soon to capacity. Even with the building of additional pavilions, space for patients was consistently at a minimum. After careful planning, construction began on a new 5-story brick and concrete sanatorium in March 1924. With a design from local renowned architect D.X. Murphy, the new building now had a capacity of 400 patients and opened on October the 17th, 1926. Over the following years, Waverly would become a nearly self-contained community. Laundry facilities, a maintenance garage, butchery, as well as several hundred acres of farmland were established on the hill. With the discovery of a new antibiotic, streptomycin, in 1943, there was finally a way to combat tuberculosis. However, it wouldn't be until 1949 when streptomycin would be available to the patients at Waverly Hills. This new treatment meant that newer cases could now be treated as outpatients in a regular hospital. Over the following years, the population of Waverly Hill began to decrease. On August the 31st, 1912, all tuberculosis patients from the city hospital were relocated to temporary quarters in tents on the grounds of Waverly Hills pending the completion of the hospital. In 1914, a children's pavilion added another 50 beds. The children's pavilion was not only for sick children, but also for the children of tuberculosis patients who could not be cared for properly otherwise. A report also mentions that the goal was to add a new building each year to continually grow, so they may have been even more beds available than listed. After being vacant for almost a year, the building was reopened in 1962 as Woodhaven Geriatric Center, a nursing home primarily treating aging patients with various stages of dementia and mobility limits, as well as severely mentally handicapped. Woodhaven was closed by the state of Kentucky in 1982 after a grand jury inspection found several patients' assaults and the degrading state of the facility. The body chute. The body chute at Waverly Hills was a tunnel originally built to move supplies, but later repurposed as the deceased tunnel to discreetly transport bodies who had passed away there, preventing other patients from seeing the deceased. Today, the body chute is a key feature for paranormal tours, even served as a safe refuge during a 2022 tornado event. The original purpose. The body chute was a tunnel used during the initial construction of the sanatorium to haul building materials like bricks from a nearby railroad to the top of the hill. Conversion to the body chute. High mortality rate during its operation as a tuberculosis hospital, there was a very high mortality rate among patients. Discreet removal. To maintain morale and prevent the other patients from seeing the deceased, the tunnel was used to move bodies discreetly. Nurses and orderlies would send the bodies down the chute to meet a hearse, ambulance, or family at the bottom. Waverly Hills is known worldwide as one of the most haunted locations in the world. An exact number of passing is unavailable, but the Waverly Hills Sanatorium likely saw tens of thousands of passings, with estimates often ranging from 63,000 to possibly over 100,000. The high number isn't just due to the tuberculosis epidemic, but also experimental treatments used and conditions like the overwhelming number of patients, the lack of effective care at the time. Why the number is uncertain is due to lost records. Some records were lost in a flood. Patients were subjected to experimental procedures including chest surgery and electric shock therapy, which sometimes led to painful demise. The sheer number of patients and passings overwhelmed the facilities and morgue. The tunnel used a railroad car system and steps that connected to the first floor of the main building and basement of the original hospital. It stretched 525 feet underground to the bottom of the hill. Only about 425 feet of the tunnel remains today. Waverly Hills is a sprawling, boomerang-shaped building. Add to the fact that not all of the passings were the results of tuberculosis. 2 nurses took their own lives at Waverly Hills in the 1920s and 1930s. The abandoned hospital gained notoriety as a popular ghost hunting spot for local teens and lovers of the paranormal. It did not disappoint. Countless stories have emerged of shadow people and ghost children, sealing the building's sinister reputation for being haunted, and stories began to circulate of resident ghosts, like the little girl who was seen running up and down the 3rd floor solarium, the little boy who was spotted with a leather ball, the hearse that appeared in the back of the buildings, dropping off coffins, the woman with a cut wrist who cried for help, visitor told of slamming doors, lights in the windows, as if the power was still running, strange sounds and eerie footsteps in the empty rooms, a man in a white coat who was seen walking in the kitchen, and the smell of cooking food. Perhaps the greatest and most controversial story was connected to the 5th floor of the building. This floor of the old hospital consisted of 2 nurses' stations, a pantry, a linen room, medicine room, and 2 medium-sized rooms on both sides of the 2 nurses' stations. One of these rooms, 502, is the subject of many rumors and legends. According to the stories, a nurse was found deceased in room 502 in 1928. It was self-induced by hanging herself from a light fixture. She was 29 years old at the time of her passing, unmarried and pregnant. Her depression over the situation led her to take her own life. It is unknown how long she may have been there in the room before she was discovered. But that was not the only tragedy to occur with a connection to room 502. In 1932, another nurse who worked in the same room jumped from the roof patio and fell several stories to her demise. No one seems to know why she did this, but many speculated that she may have actually been pushed over the edge. There are no records to indicate this. Perhaps the best-known ghost at Waverly Hills is that of a boy named Timmy. Timmy O'Shea lived in the children's pavilion while his parents were being treated for stage 3 tuberculosis. Timmy would often play ball with the children on the roof of the sanatorium. One day, Timmy fell off of the roof and passed. A police investigation determined it was an accident, but there were rumors he'd been pushed by a man standing near him at the time of his fall. Over the years, people have brought balls for Timmy to play with. In certain cases, these balls appear to move on their own or roll back to the person who threw it. Room 502, 1928, the nurse's name who ended her life was Mary Hillenberg. It was believed she was pregnant by a doctor at Waverly Hills. The body chute is considered one of the most active areas for paranormal. A seemingly malevolent entity that lived on the 4th floor was determined to be a former patient named John Mitchell. John's wife had been unalived by a man she was having an affair with while John was at Waverly Hills. Unable to care for his children, they became wards of the state. As a result of the physical and emotional pain he endured, John's spirit haunted the 4th floor for decades after his demise. More unsettling was when a prankster ghost locked investigators inside the body chute. It was confirmed that multiple people had been locked in the body chute over the years. A terrifying shadow figure described as demonic has been seen crawling along the walls and ceiling of the 4th floor, given the name the Creeper. Doppelgangers, these eerie entities mimic their victims' exact appearance. Auditory hauntings include screams, moans, sounds of doctors performing surgery, and relentless coughing. Children's laughter has been heard. Witnesses also felt spirits holding their hands while walking down hallways, as well as felt a body pain as if experiencing the symptoms of TB or the barbaric surgeries once performed there. During the years that Waverly Hills stood abandoned, 2 men reportedly passed on the property. One was said to be unalived by illicit substance dealers, and the other fell down an elevator shaft with his dog. Since then, the apparitions of both men and the dog have been seen on the property. A ghost shelf was seen in the abandoned kitchen, and the smell of bacon bread. People have encountered a doctor in a white coat entering the 4th floor operating room. Today, Waverly Hills is visited by thousands of people each year. They offer historical and paranormal tours. It is a beautiful example of Tudor Gothic structure. It is on the National Registry of Historic Places. You can get tickets for 2025 according to their website. General admission is $20. The RIP is $60. Event parking is $5 per car. Haunted House Tours starts September the 26th and continue every Friday and Saturday until November the 1st. Gates open at 7:30 p.m. and closes at 12 a.m. This is just the things that I've found while doing research. I have seen numerous stories on Waverly Hills. There's been, I think, Ghost Adventures went. I think Ghost Hunters went. Numerous paranormal investigators have gone there. I saw pictures of what it looked like. I will try to include some of those in this video. I would love to go. you know, when there are multiple passings and demises in places, you know, the possibility for restless spirits to stay is pretty high. So I hope you enjoyed this story, this Tales from the Vault. It's, you know, Halloween, so I'm gonna try to find a few more to come across to post as well. So don't forget to like, to subscribe, to hit that notification button, and to share this video. And until next time, bye.